Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. In this episode, we'll be cleaning up the tracks on this line that we forgot to do in last episode, and we'll be taking a look at improving some of our lines that probably haven't gotten looked at in quite a while. So last episode we mentioned that we'd fix up some of the terrain from placing these tracks, and we never got around to it, so now's the chance where we can come through, and for areas such as this, we can smooth out those sharp edges from the tracks. So we can bring this out, smooth it so we don't get such a sharp, harsh line. And then over here we can do some terraforming to bring up the land and help it fit better into its environment. So over here we're just able to quickly raise the land between the tracks and the foot of this hill, and now it pretty much all looks natural as we fly through here. Nothing looks too out of place. The only thing we might want to do is raise the land right here at the top of this tunnel, so it looks like an actual tunnel entrance. So I'd say about that high is probably good enough, and then we can just smooth out the edges and the backside here, and we can pretty much leave this area of the tracks. And then the next area we need to fix is right here with these tracks, and it'll pretty much be the same thing. We'll turn up our smoothing tool all the way up and just smooth this side so that raises the land up to the level of the tracks. So we can do something like this and then smooth it out, and hopefully that'll give us a nice smooth finish along these tracks here. And then over on this side we'll raise up the land a little bit. It's still going to be pretty much a cliff on this side, but we'll soften the harsh edge that sort of sits right where the edge of the tracks are. Alright, so now that's what this area looks like. Looks a lot more natural than what was there before, with just the flat cliff face. And I don't think there's really anywhere else that we need to really fix up. I mean, there's a few spots along here, but it's nothing really worth coming through and smoothing out a ton. Like maybe just some areas like this can smooth out right along the edge of the track, but really there's nothing else to be done there. So now we can pretty much leave the track off as it is, as we can see the bridge in the distance. And however, I'm just noticing maybe we want to smooth out where the base of all these pillars are. So this will just be grabbing our smooth tool and quickly just dragging around a bit. I think it's okay if there's a little bit of a dent where the pillars come in, but we don't want the carved sharp edges that it keeps trying to place when we have these spots. So now that that's all smoothed out and done up, we can move on to other areas of business that we're going to get to. So as I said before, I want to come through and fix some of the older things that hasn't really been looked at in a while, and this train here is definitely one of them. I think this is probably our slowest passenger train that we have running on this line at the moment, as everything else has pretty much been upgraded to either diesel or electric trains, unless we have a really fast steam engine anywhere on this line. So I think what we want to do is come in and manage the vehicles here, and let's think about the train that we want to replace this with. So I think we might go with another one of these intercity 125 multiple unit trains, as the distance between Jackson and Downey is fairly long and the track is fairly flat, so having this train run on it might not be too terrible for its finances. We'll just follow along closely and make sure that that is the case. So as we can see here, probably about halfway on the line, this train already reaching its top speed. So I think that's a great use for this train, and I think we'll be okay with keeping it. If it can run with a full load of passengers, there's no reason this train wouldn't be able to make us a bunch of money. And so here it pulls into the station in Downey, and since multiple units have much higher speed of loading and unloading, we should see this number just drop down and then jump straight back up, and it'll be out of here in no time. So I guess there wasn't too many people waiting here at the station. It only has about half a train load, but you can see just how much money it made off of that trip just because we switched the train. So by far made the most money it's made in a while, and the running costs probably aren't too accurate yet, but it seems to be running at a similar expense. Alright, so looking here in Downey, since that's where the train dropped us off, it looks like we're starting to get some demand to go in and out of the city here, and we already have connections between these two cities, so really the only reason that there would be private transportation there is if our public transportation isn't good enough. So pretty much the only way we can really fight that and compete with the private transportation is to make our buses faster. So if we come in here, we take a look at the bus that we're currently running, it has a top speed of 43 miles an hour. And looking at some of the more recent buses we've unlocked, it seems like those have a top speed of 50 miles an hour. So I think because this is a longer route, we'll go with these BK 670, as that's the fastest and highest capacity bus that we have here. So we'll just replace all of those, and hopefully that will increase the amount of people taking our bus network between the two cities. So now what I'd like to do is come into our line manager and sort by how much they're making us, and let's start to get into why some of these lines here are losing us a bunch of money. So the first line we have is the machines line that comes from this machines factory over to the cargo hub, and that has pretty much come down to, well, first of all, I think we need to supply more planks now, and also looking at consumers, we only have 3 of the cities connected up to this industry, so demand for that isn't too large. However, the train that we have moving all of that is a little bit large. So I think first we'll want to get some more wood coming in here so we can ramp up this production yet again, and then from there we can begin to expand our network coming from the cargo hub. Another thing I noticed is our transport for Jackson here is down at 19%, which is odd because there's nothing waiting here, and over in Jackson there's nothing really waiting over here besides maybe a shipment that just came in. However, I think where we're losing a lot of those transport numbers is here at this port, where we have 315 waiting, and if we take a look here, we're starting to fill up this port here. So what I think is happening is a lot of this is either slowly disappearing once it gets overloaded, and so it's getting wasted, and some of it could have also just been waiting for a long time. As we see here, we only have 2 ships that can carry 100 machines each. So our first order of business is going to be to upgrade that so that it can we can get a much bigger boat that can carry machines. So I think that'll be using these boats, and then I think we might also get a 3rd ship running on that line. So hopefully we'll begin to see that transport number go up at the machines factory, but because it is by boat, it might take a while to see that reflected. So coming back to this machines factory, it's pretty clear that I think wood is going to be the next thing that we need to improve upon. And we do have this sawmill here that we could probably just have a second line come from. And actually, because these are box trucks, I believe they can also carry planks. We could turn this into a more of a loop than a point-to-point line, where this stop over here brings machines to the port. Then from the port, the trucks come over to the sawmill, pick up some planks, and then go back to the machines factory. However, the issue is this sawmill is already outputting as much as it possibly can, and that's only just supplying this tools factory. So what that means is that we really can't take much more from this sawmill, and that leaves us with only one option, and that's to find another sawmill that we can connect up to bring over to the machines factory. Now we do have this line here where we have this forest, this sawmill, and then essentially what we could do is bring it by boat into this port, which then that could directly use those planks for this tools factory, and that would free up a ton of space over here at this sawmill for us to reroute some of those resources into supplying the machines factory over here. So I think that's the route we're going to go with. Now in order to do that, we will probably want to expand this port so that we have more space for boats to come in and out of. And we'll probably want a large dock in here. So we will probably have to flatten out some of this land so we can get enough space for a dock. So now we can come in here and place that right there, and then we'll find a landing, get that placed right there, and then what we're going to do is smooth out this terrain and all this, so we'll preserve that peninsula that's still pretty much here. We'll need to flatten it out and clean it up a little bit. But anyway, now what that allows us to do is, first of all, we can separate these two terminals so we have much more space for resources to come in and out. And that gives us another spot where if there is a bunch of traffic here, we can have our planks be dropped off at either platform. Now the trickiest thing about setting up this line is where we're going to drop off these, or where are we going to pick up these planks? Because we could either plop down another port and have it come over here, or we could bring it over to this port where it can just get dropped off and then shipped straight across the river. So I think we will actually just have a port here. It might just be too much to have an extra step to bring trucks over to here, and really that change in distance wouldn't change too much with the line. So in order to do this, let's first connect up our roads. So this isn't connected, so we'll just have to extend it to connect right there. And the terrain change looks pretty normal. We will upgrade the road between the two, and we'll also flatten and smooth out this part of it just so it looks natural. So next, let's get our stations in, and we'll get a tiny little truck station over here. It'll just be on the ground, and actually let's just go with a normal station like this, because I think we have something that would be pretty interesting. We'll have this just sort of at the end of the road, like so. So we have this station right here, and then lastly, we just need to find a place for our cargo port, or I guess I should say cargo harbor. So we'll have it be big enough for a large boat, and we'll rotate it so that it fits right along the river, and we can plop it down just like so. So one thing we'll do with this harbor is we're actually going to delete the main building, and we're going to replace it with one of these blank main platforms so that we can do something a little special here, something that fits in a little bit better with the sawmill industry. And then we need to connect up the roads, which will include having a road right at the front here. And then we'll probably just curve it around and have it connect like so. So if we click this truck station, looks like that works. And this harbor is connected to the industry, so everything looks to be good with that. So then the last thing I want to do in terms of our stations is to come here and configure these. We'll delete pretty much the whole thing. And then we have these shed cargo platforms, which I think could be cool for the logs. We also have this covered platform, and I think we might go with these covered ones since that probably seems to be a little bit more appropriate for storing logs. And I think we'll just keep it on the one side here since we're really only going to have that one line coming through. So that looks about good with space for 80 logs at any time. We might just increase this by one more, and I think that should get us to 100. So that'll work just fine. Now, I think we will also replace this road with a road that doesn't have sidewalks. So now that fits in a ton more with its surroundings. So now let's set this up real quick, and I believe we just need to connect this road here so we can have trucks be entered onto this line. So we can come down to this road depot and we can pick a truck, and we'll probably just go with these regular Peterbilt trucks. We'll go 6 of them. That'll probably work. And they'll just simply run from there to there. We'll set this up correctly. And then we can set up our boat. So the boat that we'll have doing this line will probably be this boat here. I think we'll start out with 2 of them, because I think we want to shift most of our production onto this line so we can borrow more from the planks over here. So we have that set. We'll have an alternate platform set here, and we'll also have it so it only unloads here at the Santa Clarita port, and then over at the sawmill it'll only load planks, and that should work out just fine. So hopefully by the time we're done detailing, those boats will have made their way over and everything should start functioning properly. So let's start out here with this forest. We pretty much already have a nice flat area to work with, but we'll just come over it one more time just to ensure that everything's pretty much already cleared out. So really all we have to do is come into our industries and find the forestry. So here's all of our forestry assets, and now all we have to do is just place them down, add a bit of forest in here, and this should be good to go. Alright, so we have our buildings placed. Let's get the terrain painted and some of the trees going, and then we can add the finishing touches after that. So pretty much what we'll want to do is match the size of this path here with our brush, and then we should be able to just paint this over. We'll bring it through all of these buildings, bring it around like so. Maybe we'll have a little grass patch in the middle there, and then we'll pretty much connect it there. And then this can probably just come straight out to the road over here. So now that we have our little bit of terrain painted, let's grab our trees. And we'll do a brush to get sort of the broad strokes of it. And we want to match the trees that are here, so I believe, well, we'll have one of the bushes enabled, the Scots pine, and they looks like sugar maple trees. So we'll bring the brush size and the strength way down so we don't end up plopping them right on the trail there. And then we'll just drag this brush around so we get a nice dense forest. Alright, so here's this area with the trees and everything placed. You get a nice dense forest here, which looks pretty good. So then let's just come in here. We'll get a few of these details placed, like tree stumps and maybe a campfire or something. And then that'll pretty much be all that we do in this forestry area. Alright, now this is what this area is going to end up looking like. We have the shacks out here, some tree stumps, our little path that runs through. Then over here we have the logs and the storage area, and this building right along the truck stop here to help reinforce the log storage that we have right next to it. So from a distance, I think this looks pretty good, and I'm happy to leave it where it is. So now let's come over to the sawmill, and we'll just add a few things over here to help it look good. We'll get rid of some of the trees in this area so we can see a bit better. And then we'll find our sawmill, which is right here. And now usually the sawmill doesn't have too many useful assets for us to place, but this one's not a bad one, especially if we scale it up a little bit. We can get that sort of, maybe we can get that right next to the fence here, sort of just placed like that. And then we could probably have this placed over here as storage for the truck station where the planks come in. And then really there's nothing too much else to add besides maybe this building we could place farther down here, and we can get a second one of these placed right next to the first one. So now let's just quickly paint over most of this with dirt so we get a nice consistent look here. We'll get dirt here, and then most of this will just be dirt as well. So we'll pull that all the way in. So next there's not too much to do besides maybe place down some plank assets and occasionally some logs. So we can place some logs in here, like so. Maybe get some more like that. And then in here we can have some more storage for logs. We'll get this placed in there like so. We'll get another one right next to it. And then maybe here we'll get like the really big logs. So then those will go here. And right about here. Alright, so again, I think that'll pretty much do it for the sawmill. We just have to come through and paint down some trees. And I think most of these, we'll probably have to come back in here with our brush with the same settings and just paint in and around behind all of these buildings. So now lastly, when it comes to this port, again, we really just want it to be something a little bit smaller and something that matches the style here, so we'll probably come back into our sawmill buildings, and I think a building like this, if we place it down a few times, wouldn't look bad on here, and we could probably actually get a few of them. So we could do something maybe more along the lines like this. We'll get it placed like that, and then one right next to it like so. And then over on this side, maybe we can get some shallower storage buildings and place those maybe more like this, and we'll just have that one placed there. So then really it all just comes down to placing down a bunch of planks, maybe of different size and shapes, so that there's some variety. We'll get all of those filled up, and then maybe in here will be like the larger ones, so we'll have pretty wide and tall. Get some of those in there. Get a few more placed like so. And so then I think something more along the lines of this looks pretty good. We might just come through and add a few boxes around just for some flavor. So that looks good. Maybe we'll get some here along this side, like so, just so it adds a little bit of interest. And I think that looks pretty good, so we'll probably leave it like this, and then we can go over to our tools factory, check up on that, and make sure it's running properly. So now coming back over to this port, it looks like we actually have a good amount of both resources piling up here, and maybe we need to upgrade these boats yet again. So this one, we can easily upgrade these, as these are pretty much from the beginning of the playthrough. So almost any other ship here would work out better than what's currently there. I think we'll just go with these more modern ships. That should greatly improve how many resources leave here. And then I believe we have the machines boats, one right here. I think we'll just duplicate this one so we have 4 for each line coming in and out of this port here. So hopefully we'll start to see this be a little bit more empty than it was before. So now coming over here, hopefully we should see that we aren't taking every single plank over to the tools factory here, and hopefully now these trucks here, first we'll want to replace them with better trucks, so we'll probably go with these tarpaulin trucks, and we'll repaint those to be a light red color. And then we'll modify the line so that after it comes over here, we'll add a station and have it come to this spot where we'll have it load up planks, and then when it comes back to this truck station, we'll tell it to unload the planks it just got. So then coming back over to this line, taking a look at our station and the trucks that are coming and going in here, it looks like for the most part these trucks are leaving full, so I don't think we probably don't need to have fewer trucks on this line. We can maybe afford to sell 2 of them, just so we can pretty much always guarantee that these trucks are leaving full. And the trucks taking planks over to the tool factory, we click a few of these, it looks like a lot of these are actually leaving about half empty, so for this line we'll probably sell 8 trucks that are going over to the tools factory. So now what we should see is here at the sawmill consumers, we see Santa Clarita machines slowly going up, which is exactly what we want. So hopefully that'll mean soon this should slowly start getting more planks, and we'll be able to start getting more machines coming out of this train station. So then coming back in here to diagnose some more of our trains, it looks like this one right here is the next culprit. And if we take a look at it, I believe this train is the one that goes up to Mesa. So yeah, this is the one that goes up to Mesa. And really, I think with this train, we just need to diversify what it's carrying. So if we come over to the city here, it looks like Mesa is now able to carry pretty much every resource. So if we manage the line, and at the cargo hub, we tell it to also pick up food, and then we'll want to come in and edit the train so we can add more box cars. So we'll just do something like this and add a few more box cars, and then manage the line so that it also brings in machines and tools. And construction materials are already coming in separately, so we don't need it to do anything else with that. But as for the boxcar resources, we'll bring all of those down to 80% so that this train isn't carrying a single particular resource at any given time. So it'll allow for, well, pretty much it'll just ensure that it'll always be carrying multiple resources instead of all tools or all goods, if that's the only thing that the city needs the most. So hopefully we'll see that train start to make more money as it fills up more. And then down here, we will need more lines to now distribute food, machines, and tools throughout the city. So we'll want to come through with our truck stop, and we have this one over here which covers all the goods, food, and I think it also covers all the tools. So we'll just have to find our truck depot. And actually, I think what we'll do is this goods truck line that also comes through here, let's just edit that so it also takes, I believe it was tools. We'll double check there. Tools and food. So now as long as those three resources are available, these trucks will be carrying it. And then the other resource we had was machines, which hopefully this line here, we could actually just adjust that. Or maybe, I guess we'll have to set up a separate line for machines. Or maybe just replace these vehicles since they're old anyway. And those we'll use, let's go with these trucks here. And we'll manage the line so that it also is able to take machines. So looking at our Mesa line, it is still only just fuel and goods, but of course it'll probably take time for the other resources to slowly build up here as the demand begins to grow. So again, coming back into our line manager, taking a look here, it looks like we have our goods that go straight to Jackson. That one's not making us a ton of money, but I think, again, that was from earlier when we weren't bringing enough plastics, and it still seems like we aren't bringing enough plastics. So it looks like we've fixed the issue on the oil end of it. I think now we need to bring in maybe 2 more of these trucks to get these out of here. And then we might actually need to improve the steel too before that gets too low, as really we just want to max this out as much as possible. And here comes this train here. We can get a quick look at how much that takes. That almost takes 200 in that go, so it's about 2/3 full. And we can see its finances slowly starting to go up to what it used to be. So I think we're already starting to see the effects of these improved lines. We'll just have to keep a close eye on what we're bringing in here and making sure that we're not holding ourselves up in any way. Now, looking at everything else, it looks like we have our Modesto Tools line. So coming out of here, this tools factory, this isn't bringing enough tools. So I think that might just have to do with this. We will probably just upgrade these trucks, and we'll get those up to be, let's go with these tarpaulin trucks, and we'll paint those sort of a nice brown color. So those should move faster. And then over here, we don't really have any goods or any planks piling up, but we do want to maybe cover us off just in case things don't work out too well. So we'll replace that. And it looks like our train that goes out to Mesa is just too long for the cargo hub now. So we'll have to move this crossover back. And we can just do that. And hopefully that will fix the problem pretty easily. We'll just have to stop it and start it again. And we can see here, now it's grabbed a pretty decent chunk of everything. Besides food, but maybe food just hasn't come in yet. And then I think really the last train that we're gonna maybe take a look at is this one here, the one that goes up to Montgomery, as it seems like it's not traveling very full. However, if you take a look at the finances, it has historically done pretty well, so I think that might just be a fluke. We will keep a closer eye on it. It is coming into the station just now, so we should see this number go up quite significantly once it drops off its resources. So there we go, 7 million right there. And that puts it right back on a normal track. So I suppose that's good. And I think all the other sort of outstanding numbers here we've already taken a look at. There is this Downey construction one, which makes me think we might be running this construction materials plant a little bit dry, as I think a lot of the demand is now headed towards the cargo hub instead of over to these cities. So maybe we'll have to get something set up soon to utilize one of these, or maybe find another construction material plant to start supplying the cargo hub so that this construction materials plant can continue to supply the cities of Mesa and Downey. But we'll save that for another video. So anyway, with that, that's going to be all for this video. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.